Welcome to the Ducati Multistrada V2 vs V4 comparison test 2022. Can the little sister hold a candle to the big one? For a week, we rode the Multistrada V2 S and the Multistrada V4 S winding hinterland of Barcelona. Expected and surprising things came to light. Once you've set your mind on a Ducati, you often don't want to ride any other brand of motorcycle. If you also have a travel affinity, you will not be able to skip the Multistrada family. This family now consists of 2 models and a total of 5 members, leaving the extravagant Multi V4 Pikes Peak aside. The S versions of the Multistrada V2 and V4 marked the top of the model range. It was precisely these two that had to prove themselves over a week in a wide range of conditions in Catalonia. Once again, McGregor and I asked ourselves the question: does it always have to be the big one? The S versions of the Multistrada come with semi-active skyhook suspension. The semi-active and fully electronically adjustable suspension is a blast on both V4 and V2. Anyone who has enjoyed it once will not want to miss it, especially for riders who often ride with a passenger or in different load conditions. The rapid adjustability is a real argument to buy. In the case of the V4S, there is even an auto mode, which automatically detects the load condition and adjusts the suspension setup accordingly. This also puts the sensitive surcharge into perspective, which tears a medium-sized hole in the wallet for both the 2-cylinder and the 4-cylinder Multistrada. An electronic chassis may be in the upper class, at the top of which the Multi V4S has positioned itself since its appearance last year, by far no rarity. Rather, it belongs to the good tone on such to set. In the case of the Ducati Multistrada V2 S, however, it should be noted with regard to the competition that the Kawasaki Versys 1000 SE and the Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports are the only competitors in this class that also offer a fully adjustable semi-active e-chassis. However, the Versys is no match for the agile Italian due to its high weight, and the Africa Twin due to its off-road heavy setup, including a 21 inches front wheel, significantly longer suspension travel and spoke rims. The V2S is the sportiest adventure bike on the market, and the chassis is just right for it. Nevertheless, in direct comparison, the skyhook suspension in the V4S works in all areas a little more confidently than that of the V2S. The response is more sensitive, the installed hardware is of higher quality, and the setup options are more varied. In addition, the V4's auto mode is correct in 99% of cases, and the skyhook version in the V2 is at a disadvantage here at the latest. The pure technical data, like a peak power of 170 horsepower versus 113 horsepower, is not enough to summarize the differences between the two nimble adventure bikes. Briefly, one must note the impeccable performance of the brakes on V2 and V4. Unbelievable how efficiently in the adventure sector can now be decelerated. The Brembo systems would also look good on sports bikes, and on the V4 you can even speak of superbikes. And not just because of the dimensions 330mm double disc at the front. However, the 2 power units in the Ducatis also deserve a few extra words, as they are decisive for the positive acceleration. We are dealing with 2 V engines, but this is where the similarities between the 2 units end. While the V2 shows itself to be a rough fellow in low RPM ranges up to 3000 RPM, including jerking and chain flapping, the powerful V4 also masters the slower pace in higher gears with ease. If you increase the RPM, the 2-cylinder comes into its comfort zone, but is still not in the ideal performance range. The 4-cylinder, on the other hand, now shoots up almost impetuously. Especially in gears 1-3 you have to hold on tight. The precisely working electronics provide a safety net that you wouldn't want to miss. The biggest shortcoming of the Desmo V2, especially as the heart of an adventure bike, is its inability to move in a completely relaxed manner. Riding with the proverbial knife between your teeth is a lot of fun, but tiring in the long run. This is where the much more mature V4 heart of the big Multistrada succeeds. It can simply do everything and always appears absolutely sovereign. Only the high amount of fuel, which is also processed in almost every driving condition in the combustion chambers, clouds the joy a little. Here, the V2 can clearly score with up to 50% lower consumption. Thus, it also offers a range worthy of a touring machine, while the V4 often asks you to the gas pump sooner than you would like. When traveling, good ergonomics and a high level of comfort in the saddle cannot be overestimated. What is good ergonomics cannot be answered sweepingly, so one would have to speak rather of suitable ergonomics. The better machine for taller and more strongly built pilots, thanks to a higher and wider seat, as well as a not so strongly cranked, higher handlebar and relaxed knee angle, is clearly the Multistrada V4. The V2, on the other hand, is a better pick for smaller pilots. It is equipped with a, for an adventure bike pronounced. Low seat height of only 830 mm. Higher and lower saddles are available as accessories. The knee angle is acute due to the high mounted foot pegs. Here the agile mid-range multi-pays tribute to its sporty claim. As a result, lean angle clearance and the feel for the front wheel are fantastic. Unusual for a segment, thanks to the seating position, which is excellently integrated into the ride. Pillion rides are excellent on both multis. The Multistrada V2 scores a surprising point in the second row. According to passenger McGregor, it even outperforms its bigger sister in this respect, with good all-round visibility and plenty of space, thanks to the significantly raised and pleasantly shaped pillion cushion, as well as a high payload. The little multi presents itself as a big player here. All this does not mean that the V4 is not suitable for traveling in pairs. It can shine with the better wind protection, the more cultivated engine run, and not least with the pillion seat heating reserved for the S version. A luxury vehicle, each of the two Multistradas usually outperforms its class rivals effortlessly thanks to its high-end equipment. In a direct duel, however, the V2 has to take a back seat. It does not have adaptive cruise control, blind spot assist or wheelie control. The 7-inch display of the V4, including connectivity and navigation integration with map display, also makes the predecessor module in 5-inch format on the V2 look a bit grayed out. Menu navigation is also somewhat faster and more intuitive on the V4 with the new operating concept, which relies on a 5-way joystick. The windshield adjustment mechanism is shared between the two sisters, and it works phenomenally both ways. It can be operated effortlessly with one hand, and the possible locking points are sensibly chosen. Despite their different shapes and widths, both shields offer excellent wind protection even for larger pilots. Visually, the windshield on the V2 blends in even more harmoniously than that on the V4. The protection against wind and weather influences at the level of the center of the body is also very satisfactory on both Multistradas. This is no wonder, given that the V2 and V4 are rather wide in the gas tank area. At leg height, the rider of the V4 benefits from the width of the large unit, while the slim V2 doesn't do quite as well in a direct comparison. But there's no advantage without a disadvantage. Even though the Ducati engineers have made an effort to make the V4 engine's waste heat bearable with the laterally mounted attachments reminiscent of winglets, which are supposed to direct fresh air to the rider's legs, it gets warm relatively quickly in this area. This circumstance is clearly aggravated by low speeds, for example in city traffic. Here, the V2 driver is pleased with the narrower engine and the cooling airflow at a brisker pace. Prices of Multistrada V2 versus V4. Is the surcharge justified? Moving an S version from Bologna is in no way a cheap pleasure. Whether the significant surcharge for the V4 is necessary depends on the area of use and personal preferences, as well as to some extent on the physical conditions. The fact is that you can have an incredible amount of fun with both motorcycles, especially on paved roads. Few other bikes of the competition can keep up. A week in the saddle of Multistrada V2 S and V4 S brought the decision. Which one should it be? For those who are looking for the egg-laying willow, the answer can only be the V4, which has no weaknesses in any area apart from the high costs of purchase and consumption. The Multistrada V2 is the right choice for all those who have a strong sporty demand on the subject of travel. It is an ideal entry into the travel segment with more suspension. No other adventure bike is as close to sporty nakeds as the Multistrada V2. Regular rides for two succeed great on both Ducatis and are therefore not suitable as a decision-making tool.